You've been in your role for a while and you're ready for a promotion, but you don't quite see a path upwards from where you are. So how do you have that conversation with your boss about getting promoted? We're going to talk about that today. My name is Tom and I'm the founder of Vertical Motion, where we help mid-career professionals become executives. If that's interesting to you, then you can book a call with me where we can talk about your executive career ambitions on that call. You can also follow me over on Instagram at TomCoxVM. That's a great place to DM me direct questions, which is actually the topic today comes from a direct question. I've had this question now come up 3 or 4 times from various conversations with folks on Instagram and 1 or 2 clients that have joined the program as well. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk today specifically about how to have a conversation with your boss about promotion. All of us want to move up in our career, or at least most of us do. If you're watching this channel, you probably want to move up in your career. And it's exciting to think about how you can take on more responsibility, but your organization may not see things the same way that you do. They may like you where you are in your current role because you're very good at that thing. And then for them to move you into a higher level role means that now they lose someone who's really good at what they do today, and now they gain someone who's not very good at what they do at a higher level. So you have to be trained and taught all of the skills that come with being an executive, which are different skills than you have when you're a manager or an individual contributor. An individual contributor is great at doing one thing really well. A manager is really good at managing people and resources. Executives do very different things. Executives are looking outward at the industry and the rest of the organization, as well as their team that they're managing. And so you have to have new skills, executive skills, in order to move to that level. Executives understand this, so they know that, like, if you're an amazing manager, they don't necessarily have incentives to move you to a higher level if you're just great at what you do and you're happy doing what you do. So for you to express interest in moving to a higher level, you have to make sure that you're doing several things as part of that, not just saying, I want to be rewarded for how great of a manager I am. So let's talk about how you actually do have this conversation with your leadership team. Number 1, you need to conduct a self-assessment. Make sure that you're actually ready for the role that you want to take on. Becoming an executive is more than just tenure. It's not just how long have you been in an organization that you just slowly kind of earn the right over time. You have to actually demonstrate executive skills in order to qualify for an executive role. So you want to make sure that you take a look at yourself and make sure that you do have those executive skills, or you are learning those executive skills, or you are being mentored by an executive so that you can grow those particular skills extremely well. And those executive skills that I'm talking about are leadership, strategy, the ability to be decisive, understanding how to handle P&L or profit and loss or financial responsibility. Like if you're going to manage a P&L or a book of business for the organization, you need to know how to do that. Do you have those financial skills? Do you have that financial acumen? Do you know how to communicate like an executive? Do you know how to lead your team? Those skills are different than what managers do. Managers do lead teams, but in a different way. So just make sure that you do a self-assessment and understand what skills you have. The next thing you want to do is you want to schedule a formal meeting with your boss to talk about what leadership refers to as succession planning. Succession planning just means like when someone who is a current executive is no longer with the organization, who will take over for her or him? Succession planning is something that executives are constantly doing. They are constantly next man up or next person up in the organization is how executives think about the role that they have as an executive and who can fill that role behind them. So you want to have a conversation with your direct supervisor about succession is how they're referred to it. But you're going to approach this conversation as if you are genuinely seeking feedback on how you can grow and improve and continue to contribute to the organization at a higher level. Don't just go into this meeting asking for a promotion. It's very selfish, and it's not paying attention to the needs of the organization or your direct supervisor. Instead, turn this around and ask how you can better support the organization through growth in a role that either exists or does not exist. Look for opportunities that are new in the organization. So maybe there's an area that's growing like wildfire and doesn't really have a ton of leadership over top of it. maybe a new role can be created that you can take over and focus on improving that part of the organization. During this meeting, you want to have a presentation available. Doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have slides and stand up in front of a PowerPoint. A presentation like this is more about having a one-on-one conversation where you present your case that you believe you're ready for the next level in your career. You want that next level to take place in this organization, and you want to work collaboratively with your boss on how to find that opportunity for you. Make sure that you pull out any quantifiable metrics that you've been able to achieve over your time in the company. Mention your loyalty and time in service to the company. I've been here for 10 years and I've done great things. Remember back when I did this, and every year we've brought the numbers down from 18% to 12% to 4%, assuming those are good trends, in terms of like loss or whatever. Or on the revenue side, we've increased the numbers by 20%, 18%, 5%, whatever. The point is that you want to demonstrate quantifiably with real numbers how you have impacted the organization, and that you want the opportunity to impact the organization with more capacity in a higher level so that you can take that same impact and just bring it up a level. As you have this conversation with your direct supervisor, you want to sense where their energy is, right? This is why this conversation should be done face-to-face, one-on-one, in person, together in a room, so that you can get not just the verbal feedback, but all of the nonverbal cues that humans do. 70% of our communication, human to human, is nonverbal. So I can say words and they can sound one way, but if you see me act or make an expression that belies those words, well, that's what sarcasm is. Like, it's important that you understand that you read the energy of the person to whom you're talking. And in this case, your direct supervisor, you want to read their energy. If they're kind of like, I don't know, they get closed off, they get nervous, they get kind of like, you can see they're not leaning in to this conversation. You want to ask them for feedback. Hey, I'm getting a sense that maybe this isn't something that you really want to explore, have a conversation about. Can you give me some feedback on why that might be? You're looking for ways to understand what you need to improve in order to actually take the next step. It may be that they don't think you're ready, that you're not qualified. They may never have thought of you that way. You may have been friend-zoned from the executive ranks. So you want to make sure that you understand, okay, what is it about me that doesn't make you feel comfortable in taking the next step in my career here in this organization? Find that out. It's going to help you understand at least their perception of what you're not doing or what you're doing wrong. Now, if the organization does believe in your ability to grow, then what you want to do is you want to ask for some mentorship and some sort of development program. Depending on the size and complexity of your organization, they may have internal programs that you can join where you become an internal leader. If this is a very large organization, that's pretty common. Smaller organizations, you might ask for a little bit of funding to work with an executive coach, which, by the way, that's what we do here. But you can work with an executive coach to help you grow the skills that you need. Or you can work with a mentor, somebody who is in the organization, or maybe outside of the organization, like a board member or someone who's familiar with the company. You typically don't want a mentor to be a direct supervisor or in your command chain at any point. You want it to be somebody who's kind of off to the side of you, maybe leads a different vertical of the organization than you're in. But you want this mentorship and guidance on how to become an executive, not just become an executive, but become an executive in the culture of that organization. And additionally, you want to be really open about your ambitions. It's okay to tell them, I am looking to grow in my career. I have reached a point where I have done this job really well for a long time, and I'm ready for my next challenge. I want to move up in my career. And you can be clear about how you want to do that in this organization, but if there isn't an opportunity for you to grow, maybe it's time for you to start exploring opportunities elsewhere. You say this in a way that's constructive and positive so that it doesn't come off as a threat. What you don't want to do is say, you need to promote me or else I'm out the door. That is absolutely the wrong energy. That will get you sent out the door quicker than you were hoping to go. So instead, what you want to do is you want to approach this as like this. I'm super excited to be here. I love this organization. It's been fantastic. I feel like I'm ready to grow. I'm ready to move up. I'm looking and seeking your guidance and advice on how to do that. if there isn't an opportunity for me to do that here, I totally understand. And maybe it's time for me to take a look at and see what else is out there. But I really love to try to make it work here if possible. That's the tone. So it's a positive tone. It's an energy that like, yes, I'm wanting to stay here. I want to lean in. I am now evolving into a new version of myself, and I want to find a place for me in this company, in this culture. So that's kind of the energy that you want to have when you're having this conversation. Don't make it an ultimatum, but make it clear that your ambitions are to grow from where you are now. If you have this conversation and you have it again and you have it again, and after months you're just getting stonewalled, well, maybe it is time to start looking outside for that growth. Executives, especially conservative executives in small organizations, they don't like change. What they want is they want everything to stay exactly the way it is if it's profitable. If they're making 5 or 10% margin on things, conservative executives in small organizations are going to just want to keep everything status quo. They want things to stay the same. They don't want people to grow. They don't want people to go. They don't want new people to come in. They want everything to stay exactly the way it is because that's the simplest way to manage and lead as a conservative executive. Just everything stays the same. You have to be ready to leave an organization that's like that if they're not willing to find growth opportunities for you inside of the organization. When you move into a new organization, you're going to show up as a different version of yourself than you are today. Today, the organization that you're in sees you as a manager or as an individual contributor. They don't see you as an executive or leader. They just see you in the role that you're in. And so sometimes it's hard for people to break that perspective of who you are. If you've been in an organization for 10, 12, 15 years, they might remember aspects of you when you were much younger, when you were a little bit wilder and not as experienced as you are now. And that helps color their image of you as not being ready to be an executive. When you go to a new organization, an organization that doesn't know you that well, all they have is what's in front of them. And they see you as a competent, confident executive. They're going to assume that's what you are. So this is part of the problem of trying to grow in an organization that's not ready for you to grow inside of it. There may not be a lot of opportunity, and there may not be a lot of desire to move you out of your current role because they like you where you are. They don't want to mess things up. So keep that in mind, that this is why sometimes leaving an organization to go to another one is really the best way to take that next step up. And remember to stay professional as you go through this, right? Make sure that you don't take anything personal. Just because they don't necessarily want to move you forward doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you or that there's something wrong with them. They are making a decision. Good one, bad one, doesn't matter. It's a decision. And so you have to just respect that decision that they're making. And then you decide about your career accordingly. Be the CEO of your own career and decide if this is the organization you want to continue to invest in. It was a good investment for a long time. Maybe it's not the best investment anymore. And finally, make sure that you follow up on this conversation. When you have these conversations with your leadership team, you want to make sure that you follow up regularly because they probably won't. If you think about it, when someone comes to you and says, I want you to give me more of something and I'm not ready to give that to you, how are you going to act? You're going to kind of hope they just kind of go away, right? And just forget about it, right? Well, you need to make sure that you do follow up. Follow up professionally, consistently, and don't follow up too often. Maybe every few weeks, once a month, give it some time. Hey, just wanted to check in and see if you've thought about our conversation at all. You'll know after about 2 months where this is going. And during that time, if you start to get the sense that there's just no growth for you, you have a decision to make. Are you comfortable staying in the role that you're in for years more, or is it time for you to make a change? And if it's time for you to make a change, now is a good time while they are contemplating how to move you up and deciding ultimately not to. That's a really good time to be thinking about how you can be improving your LinkedIn and your resume and your executive network overall so that you can find the right opportunity for you to grow. Now, if the organization decides that they do want to help you grow into an executive role, fantastic. You want to be collaborative with your direct supervisor and anyone else who is an advocate for you to grow and have them help you craft a position description for you to move into. You want them to help define the parameters of success. You want to get as much mentorship and support as you can in order to actually excel in that new role that you're creating. We have several people in our program in the Executive Career Accelerator who are writing their own job descriptions for their future role, which is super exciting. These are people who didn't really want to leave the organization that they're in to seek growth. They weren't having good conversations with their leadership. Having worked through this in the program, they have the tools that they need to actually have these impactful conversations with their direct supervisors, and it's working for them. So this is a real thing. You can absolutely create a role where there wasn't one, or you can find a path of succession into a higher level role when someone is leaving or moving on. You can build your path inside of your current organization if you really want to stay in your organization. You just have to really lean into this, and you need your leadership team to lean into you as well. And hey, if it's not there, that's okay. We can move on to another organization that's ready to see you grow into a higher level. That's what I have for you today. I hope this was helpful. If you want to have more of a conversation about how to have these conversations with your leadership team about growing inside of your current organization, you can DM me over on Instagram at TomCoxVM. We can have a direct conversation about where you are in your career. If you're ready to have a conversation about joining the Executive Career Accelerator, then down below, there's a link to book a call with me where we can have a conversation about whether you're a good fit for the program. That's what I have for you today. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you in the next one.